Ntikim Kiza is joining me, and she's the founder of Mint Hair. How are you doing?
Doing great, darling. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Cool.
We're talking progression plans, how to structure growth in order to move your business or career forward.
Yeah.
You?
Good afternoon, everybody. So I think that's an important thing, right?
Yeah.
Because there's that point in life where you're like, okay, I'm studying, I'm going to graduate, I'm getting a job. Maybe you have a plan as an intern, and then it's da-da. What do I do from here? And oftentimes, if you don't plan, life will happen to you, right? So if
Yes.
you're thinking about how do you become successful in your career or your business, you have to have a progression plan. So you have to think about, where do I ultimately want to go? And a lot of people actually don't think about that. And because
Really?
so people kind of go like, I'd love to be a CEO.
Oh, okay. We live in the world of dreams.
Yes.
Okay.
So I want to be rich and successful without
Right.
defining what rich and successful looks like. Or you can say, I want to be influential or be in a position of power. But how many people actually sit down and go, okay, what is my plan? What's my strategy? How do I aim to get there? And then actually put it into action. So really the encouragement is to say that the success you're looking for is not going to happen by chance. You have to be deliberately involved and engaging in the process of your own success, whether it's your career or your business. And there's a couple of things that you can think about in order to get that done.
Right, and intentional, as you talk about, deliberate engagement in your own path. And intention is such a pivotal thing. We were talking about pivoting the other day, and central to that also is the intent.
Yeah.
Because once you set the intent, then intention then must have the plan.
100%. And I was with a mentor of mine the other day, and she said, if I determine to be successful, nothing will stand in my way. And I love that so much, because I was like, that sounds like you're in control. And really, yes, there's an element of intention in putting it out there, but then there's your action. And if you can think of someone that you know where they're going to do it, they do it and they get it done. That's kind of the avenue that you want to be in. And I think the other side of that is oftentimes we're not confident as people, that we tend to second guess ourselves and our ability. And if you have a plan in place and you can figure out how to make sure that you have the right qualifications, you don't have to be anxious about it. You can say, I'm confident, one, in my ability, but two, in the fact that I've done the work and I know what it takes to end up in the role that I ultimately want to be in.
So you spoke earlier about some steps that you
Yes.
could take. She always comes with a plan.
Because I love to give you all a plan and action steps. So, I mean, the past couple of weeks, we've been talking a lot about different elements of personal growth. And that's the first place to start. So, to evaluate yourself as a person and say, what are my strengths? What am I good at? What am I passionate about? What space would I like to be involved in? And that can be very different to the job that you've been doing for the past couple of months or the past couple of years. So, being able to do that internal audit and go, am I actually in a space or an industry that I want to be in? Then the second thing is to audit your skills. So what do you know how to do? And when you think about the ideal job that you would like to be in, what is the skills gap? Or what is the knowledge gap? And then ultimately you would then figure out how to then start bridging that gap. So is it a course? Is it an internship or shadowing somebody? Is it a conversation with a mentor? That sometimes we know things, but we just don't know how to categorize it. And somebody who's in that role can actually help you figure out what you know, what to basket, to group it in, and then go, okay, cool. If you do 1, 2, 3, you're actually a lot closer to this next step than what you thought. And for a lot of people, I'd say have a vision, so think about the ideal job, so don't just go, I want to be in a corner office. Define it. What is that corner office? What are you doing? What is the objective of every single day? And then start looking for companies that do that. And I really want to encourage people, look global. Okay? I'm in Saba, and so this is the job I'm doing. Look globally, and sometimes that's the thing, that you have a particular skill or knowledge set, and you're frustrated with the current environment that you find yourself in. And so sometimes your next step is outside your organization, even though you've been there 20 years and you absolutely love it and you know everyone's family and their children. And then sometimes that opportunity is outside of the country that you live in, and yes, I'm 100% for knowledge retention in our country, but it does also help sometimes to go somewhere where that skill is needed, and people will pay you really well for that. And you can put yourself a plan and say, okay, I'm going to go for 5 years and earn in dollars or dirhams or whatever, and then I'll come back. And that's perfectly fine. But as long as you have a plan that's clearly defined, you can then figure out how to get there. And then you obviously then have to apply. So one is just pure application. So looking on websites and seeing what's available. Something that a lot of people miss, that you find more senior executive people doing, is going to a recruitment agency. So going to them and going, this is my goal, this is the vision, this is the kind of role, these are my skills, here's
Yeah.
my CV. Is my CV up to stat? And the recruiter would often tell you that, okay, for the role that you're going for, you actually need to present this in your CV. And then they will go and hunt for that job for you. So in as much as companies utilize recruitment agencies to find talent, you as an individual can also use a recruitment agency to help you find the role that your talent can fit into. And then the other one, which doesn't happen often, but it's the juicy one, is your network, you know? So you can't be dreaming of a wonderful job and nobody knows that you are looking for it. I had dinner with a friend yesterday and they were like, oh, it's actually not advertised, but this role does exist in my company. I said, let me send my CV, you know? So you never know what moves are happening. And it's very important that you make a deliberate plan to build your network. Whether you are an entrepreneur or whether you're in corporate, you want to start making connections with people that can refer you, that can let you know that a particular role is open, that can advocate for you, and people who can even sponsor you, you know, so people who would put you onto projects that would shift a decision towards utilizing your company for a procurement project or whatever it is. But the stronger your network is and the wider your network is, the better chance you have of getting those jobs that are never applied.
I like to call
Advertised.
it your net worth.
Yes,
Like,
100%.
you know what I mean? You gotta let your net worth work for you. So get into your diaries. And you were talking about looking for opportunity, you know, outside of borders. And I'm a big advocate of this.
Yeah.
I tell this to students, even, you know, if people are trying to get their higher education on, and I'm like, don't box yourself to just the boundaries of South Africa for exactly the reasons that you put out there. And for me, you know, if you are working professional already, Vusi Tembakwayo said this a couple of I don't know, months ago. He was talking somewhere, and I am in full agreement with this. Talent must go where talent is recognized, where talent is valued. You know, and where talent is given opportunity to thrive.
Completely. And also, you only grow in those kinds of environments. So if you think about being the biggest fish in the pond, at some point it stops being challenging. And if you're saying to yourself, I want to be the best at this particular discipline, then you want to go to a talent pool. Yes, there's more competition there, but you know you're going to come out the best, you know? And I think also another really good thing to do is if you are studying, so if you're pursuing a master's or a PhD, even if you're an undergrad going to university for the first time, if you can study outside the country, that's a really great place. One, to network, but two, to open up yourself to opportunities that do exist that you may have otherwise not been aware of, or to position yourself for opportunities that may have otherwise not come your way.
Yeah. And we overlook the power of social media. I think in a progression plan, it could play a vital role. You know, those conversations that we have, whatever platforms you are on, from time to time, just reminding people of where your mind is at and where you're trying to be. We see the stories. We see the stories all the time. People say, you know, I got my level up because Ntiki saw me and her friend, and suddenly.
And I've had those opportunities as well.
Yes, yeah.
So definitely utilize your social media, and I'll say LinkedIn as an opportunity for exposure, to position yourself as a thought leader, to position yourself as somebody that can add value. And what's really important to highlight here is that people don't know what's in your brain. So a lot of us have this thing of, oh, I don't want to talk about that because it's going to seem like I'm hooting my own horn or whatever. But the thing is, people don't know. So if you are that person, you are that person. So find a way to talk about the impact that you've created, the differences that you have made in a role that previously nobody was able to do that, or you know, targets that you've met in a short amount of time. Those things are valuable to somebody who's looking for that kind of talent. And you don't have to write the story as, oh, this week I made 10,000 more sales than usual. But you can go, this is what I learned from attaining this target in less time. And then you start taking people through what you just said now, that mindset and your thought process in that space. And that really goes a long way, because when people look at you, they go, oh, Bridget is not only a person that accomplishes things, but I can see how she adds value, and I can see how she thinks through things. And I'd like talent like that on my team. So when you're able to position yourself in that way, people see it and are more easily attracted to that.
Yeah. And please don't overlook this. Ntiki's network is also your network. You know, so expand yourself as you go about sort of putting the plans in place. Share with your friends what some of your dreams are, and open the environment. I find if you open the environment, and you know, I know in my personal WhatsApp group, people would just drop something that's unrelated to any of the careers that are at play within the group.
Yes.
And then go, you know, pass and pull and pass. Puff and puff, as in share with other people.
100%. The other thing I want to highlight for people is that sometimes the role you want hasn't been created. But if someone can identify you as talent, they can create that role for you. So, and I think specifically of one of the ladies that I coach, she said to herself, I want to be an EA for this particular CEO. And that CEO didn't have an EA at the time. And for a year, she put together a plan where she positioned herself as an asset to be that person's be that person's EA. And after 6 months, she got the role. And they literally created that role for her. So as you pass and play different roles, you can even say to people, this is where I want to move my career into. I'm not sure what it looks like, but I'd like to do more of this kind of work. And people can then start putting feelers out and go, hey, our company is actually looking for someone that does this. It sounds like this, but I think you might fit really well in that. Or even with your own business, talking about the kind of work you'd like to evolve more out of. I'm thinking specifically about coaches who might be coaching in one particular discipline and would like to move into a different space. Say that out loud, tell people, and people can then go, oh, I was in a meeting and this came up and I thought you'd be really good for it. Or at least now I know that you're looking, or that this is the kind of space that you want to play in. Therefore, we can collaborate, I can refer you, I can mention your name in meetings, and all of that stuff creates reciprocity and a progression plan for your career.
There you go. Ntsiki Mkhize is on Instagram. You can find her there, founder of Mentor.